I don't really know what to feel about the Punisher Netflix series. There are a lot of things that I absolutely love about it, and there are also things that aren't great about it either. Still, I cannot deny that it is well made, engaging from start to finish, and it feels a lot less like an action series and more like a governmental conspiracy thriller series that reminds me of novels by Tom Clancy. And man, some of the scenes in the series are quite brutal. So if you want to see a nice and engaging governmental conspiracy thriller on Netflix, I think The Punisher can supply you with that. But do you know the one thing that I definitely know what to feel? This article is moral panic at its finest.
It's the worst time ever to release The Punisher, just like every other time.
It's the worst time to release a fictional story about a vigilante killing people and putting justice on his own hands. Let me guess, is it because the recent mass shootings happening around the world?
Just days before this year's new Comic-Con, Marvel and Netflix canceled their panel for The Punisher. The mass shooting in Las Vegas a few days prior had left 58 people dead and more than 500 injured, and it wouldn't be so appropriate for the violent, gun-heavy show to participate in the convention at the time, the company said in a statement.
I kind of get why they're doing that, but we're talking about fictional entertainment here, and, well, let's just get to the article because the article makes a really good argument against this without even realizing it. The article proceeds to explain the Texas shooting in Sutherland Springs and the one in Northern California. When I say the article accidentally makes a good argument for releasing The Punisher, I freaking mean it.
All of which is to say, if it wasn't appropriate to promote Netflix's latest Marvel adaptation at a comic book convention because it was in the wake of a horrific incident of gun violence, is it right to release the show itself after another one? Moreover, if there are always mass shootings in America, will there ever be a suitable time to release The Punisher?
That's a good question. Since mass shootings happen pretty much every day in America, especially in gang-ridden areas, when is it the right time for us to release The Punisher? When is it appropriate for us to release action films of vigilantes killing people? And that is assuming that the Punisher is a mass murderer, which he isn't. He kills criminals. He didn't kill innocent people like all of the examples in the mass shootings you described. To equate Punisher's act to the Vegas or Texas shooters is disingenuous and misrepresentative of his actual character. And if it is inappropriate to release the Punisher, who is it inappropriate for? There are so many people out there that want to enjoy Punisher and some of them are not in America, so they're not as emotionally invested to the whole gun control issues or the mass shootings happening in America. Hell, back when my uncle died, I took my siblings to see Wonder Woman to pass some time, and lots of people die in there. We can safely disassociate fiction with whatever is happening in the real world. In a lot of ways, fiction is supposed to make us disassociate real-world things. Associating things that are happening in fiction with current real-world issues in order to not release them because it's inappropriate seems like a baseless moral panic to me. It seems like the writer underestimates the audience's abilities to distinguish between fiction and reality. Most people can, but I don't think this person is able to do that. I want to find someone who couldn't though and properly educate them. Hey, fiction is not the same as reality, okay? If there isn't a good time to release The Punisher, it's basically the same thing as saying, well, I don't think we should release it at all because people die in real life too. It's one step closer into preventing fiction that tackles serious topics to be released at all. There's that new Jackie Chan movie called The Foreigner, which was okay, and the movie starts off with a terrorist bombing. There are probably real bombings happening in parts of the world, so should the movie not tell its story because terrorist bombings happen in real life? Again, it's quite confusing. We're not really going to movies to see people dying unless if we're talking movies like Jigsaw. We're going to movies to see stories being told, and some stories involve people dying. I really don't get the mindset, to be honest, so I think we should just continue this article even further before I speculate more on things.
Questions about the intersection of entertainment and real-world violence come up often. Folks asked them when Suicide Squad came to theaters so soon after last year's Orlando nightclub shooting. They were incredibly salient following the 2012 Aurora, Colorado shooting, which happened during a screening of The Dark Knight Rises, and yet the creators of The Punisher, a show named after the alter ego of gun-toting vigilante Frank Castle, seemingly didn't give them much thought when creating the series. In fact, in a recent interview with Sci-Fi.com, showrunner Stephen Lightfoot said the issues of mass shootings and gun control weren't considered by the writing staff at all.
Again, considering that this happens at pretty much every fictional entertainment release ever, the reason why the writer doesn't consider them at all is 1, because he focuses in writing said character, and 2, because it's completely unproductive and it only feeds into pointless moral panic. Also, I might add, the show did tackle issues of gun control in a surprisingly balanced manner, but I couldn't really say that because the article takes place a day before the show is actually released. But seriously, what is the benefit of going after fiction and saying, well, I don't think it's okay to release this movie or game when tragedy happens in real life. So when is it okay? The world isn't going to be peaceful anytime soon. This thing is so confusing because you brought this problem up, and I don't really see you bringing up any good solutions to counter this. Let's follow the logic here. Fictional entertainment shouldn't be released when tragedies happen. Tragedies happen all the time in every part of the world. So, is this a call to not release fiction at all? This is so utterly confusing because I'm trying to follow a trail of logic, and that trail of logic only leads me to this writer saying ban fiction, ban fiction, ban fiction.
Lightfoot said he also didn't consider the fandom law enforcement officials have for the character. I can speculate about why the Punisher resonates so strongly with them, but I sort of didn't give it too much thought as we were writing.
The article then links into this weird event where police officers from Kentucky decided to use the Punisher logo in its police cars. Like, that is so freaking bizarre. Why would you do such a thing? I'm sure there are cops out there who are fans of the characters because it's a fictional character from Marvel that does really cool things, but to put it as a logo of a police officer's car is so bafflingly stupid. Do these people not know that the Punisher kills criminals without any sort of care and due process? It happened in February this year, months after the release of Daredevil Season 2. Actually, nearly a year after the release of Daredevil Season 2, which features the freaking character. But still, while that news is so bafflingly stupid, I don't know why this article brings that up. Yes, there are fans of Punisher who are cops, but the article you cited doesn't show fans of Punisher who are cops. When asked, the cops don't even know what the skull means, and it's a design oversight. It reminds me so much of that skincare clinic that uses the Umbrella Corporation's logo.
That the man in charge of a Punisher show didn't give such things too much thought is telling. It's indicative of a sense that Lightfoot, and perhaps Marvel as a whole, doesn't want to engage with the idea of Frank Castle as anything other than a damaged but ultimately sympathetic anti-hero, one who does whatever necessary to get the bad guys. For them, seeing Castle as any sort of reflection of reality is a step too far.
Wait, what do you mean as a reflection of reality? You want Frank Castle to be like an actual mass shooter? Can you be more specific in what you mean as depicting Frank Castle to be a reflection of reality? Because that's the vibe that I'm getting from you. You want Frank Castle to be just like a mass shooter in real life. Do you want Frank Castle to be like your typical real life mass shooter? He's not. He's really not. This article is a little jumbled and messed up in what it really wants. Do you want to not release the Punisher, or do you want the Punisher to be reflective of reality? In what way? How can the Punisher be a reflection of reality? You know what? I'm gonna continue reading.
That's certainly their prerogative. The Punisher is a fictional character, and it's up to Marvel and Netflix to decide how to tell his stories and how deep those stories go in interacting with the world. It's not like Thor and Squirrel Girl are expected to act as commentary on the current political climate. What's the big deal if the Punisher is treated as just a Death Wish-esque fantasy character?
While it is true that the Punisher is akin to characters like Paul Kersey, there is more to it than just that. Go see Daredevil Season 2. Marvel gives the character a hell of a lot more story than just a Death Wish fantasy. I don't know what more could you want from the Punisher. It seems like you want him to be some form of a political statement that reflects reality in the mass shootings that are happening in the real world somehow. So please elaborate further on that.
The Punisher isn't Thor or Squirrel Girl though. He's not even Iron Man or Spider-Man. He's a street-level character living in Marvel's version of the real world, with no powers but his arsenal. The closest any other Marvel character gets to the Punisher's contemporary cultural relevance is Captain America, and that's only because he was temporarily a Nazi.
Oh boy. You know, you mentioned Thor and Squirrel Girl previously. I'm gonna show this absolutely dumbass comic from Squirrel Girl. In Marvel, you can make any character to talk about contemporary politics when they absolutely don't have to.
In a country where gun violence is permanently an issue, albeit one never fully examined or discussed.
Whoa. Stop. Gun control is never fully examined or discussed. No. Just no. Writer, I don't know what kind of fantasy land you're living in, but your statement over there is not representative of reality.
The Punisher modus operandi of channeling his frustration through firearms means he end up representing, or at least
wait. Channeling his frustration with firearms. You're really stretching here, writer. Has Punisher ever channeled his frustration to innocent people? Has he ever acted like a mass shooter and just start killing people indiscriminately? I'm very sure he channeled his frustration into mobs, drug dealers, and criminals. Even then, Daredevil called him out on this. You are misrepresenting his character so that you can make some form of a political statement about him. The next couple of lines reveal that you just want this show to tackle the issues of mass shooting by making Punisher to be a mass shooter, I guess? The Punisher isn't a mass shooter. He is a vigilante. He brings justice to those who deserve it, not some random innocent people. Tell me, has Punisher ever acted like this?